Hey everybody, welcome to the Point of Attack podcast. I'm your host, Bill Anderson. Just wanted to go over some week one NFL action. I think this is the best week one so far that we've had in probably 5 or 6 years. Just some really great games. The Thursday night game, Eagles, Cowboys, drama, action, great game. I really want to get into the Chiefs versus the Chargers. And the reason that I do is I've just over the years heard a ton of hate on Justin Herbert. Oh, he can't win big ones. Oh, he's overrated. Oh, he's this. Oh, he's that. Well, I really hope that he answered some questions in what he did to the Kansas City Chiefs last Friday night. In Brazil, weird game, weird travel. You could tell from the minute that game kicked off that the Kansas City Chiefs might be in trouble. The Chargers went in there ready to kick some butt. Now, I really want to hit on Justin Herbert because I think it's really wild when you think about what he's shown throughout his career. All the just being able to make plays, make throws, he can do everything, and gets a lot of hate from it. But if you really think about it, he's really been in, until last year when Jim Harbaugh got there, there's been a lot of chaos. So before that, he had Anthony Lynn, who was kind of I don't know to anybody. What's Anthony Lynn doing now? Does anybody know? Then you went on to Brandon Staley, who you could tell pretty early on in that first season there that he was just over his head. I mean, going for it on fourth down. I mean, just the ridiculousness of his coaching style and the way he was with his players, and him blowing up on the sidelines, blowing up in the press conferences. Just, he was a mess, and you could see it. And the Chargers have a long-standing history of this. Like, I don't know of any organization that's wasted more just great quarterback talent than the San Diego/LA Chargers. Right? In my lifetime, they've had Dan Fouts, Drew Brees. They sent him back in it, and that was probably the right decision for Phillip Rivers. But Drew Brees goes on to have a Hall of Fame career, win a Super Bowl, and Phillip Rivers is, on the edge of Hall of Fame. Probably he'll get some votes. He'll get some votes for the Hall of Fame, but he played his entire career with the Chargers, except for that 1 year with the Colts, I believe, and they just wasted his talent. He was a really good player. A lot of fire, a lot of energy, could make all the throws, made all the big plays, and wasted it. And I was really afraid. Like, you could see it when he came in his, I think it was the second game of the year of his rookie year. Tyrod Taylor had I think if I remember right, he had some rib injury, and they gave him a treatment. They wound up nicking his lungs, so at the last minute, Justin Herbert had to come in. I mean, that coaching staff was going to play Tyrod Taylor over Justin Herbert, and you could, halfway through the first quarter of that game, you could see, how did the Chargers not see the difference in talent between these guys? I mean, Justin Herbert was awesome. He took the Kansas City Chiefs, learning he's going to start 5 minutes before the game, takes the Kansas City Chiefs into overtime. They lose in the end, but I mean, just how much more does this guy have to do, right? So ultimately, they go through years of Anthony Lynn, and then Staley comes in. And they just have this really long history of, as an organization, of being uber ultra cheap. Personally, I would have gotten rid of Staley after Brandon Staley after they had that wild playoff loss to the Jaguars when I think in the first half of the game, Trevor Lawrence threw like 3 interceptions. They had the game under control, and then Trevor Lawrence comes back to win, and you could just see that team imploding. It's a job of the coach to get everybody settled down and go, but they just couldn't do that under Brandon Staley. He just doesn't have that in him, right? So now you got a history of an organization that wastes quarterback talent. I was really, really scared for Justin Herbert then, and be going into the coaching hire season before last, or last season, before the last season. The rumors were out there that Jim Harbaugh was going to become the head coach of the LA Chargers. And I thought, finally, he's going to get some support. He's going to have a culture around him. He's going to have a solid coach. I mean, Jim Harbaugh took Colin Kaepernick to the Super Bowl. We all saw what happened to Colin Kaepernick, and I don't want to get into all the other stuff, but we saw as teams figured out how to defend him, he was completely incapable of being able to change his game and be able to adjust to the defense that had adjusted to him. And Jim Harbaugh took him to a Super Bowl. Just wild. So, bring us back to last Friday night. Justin Herbert had all the answers all night long. He opened the drive, opened the game, they drove down, they scored a touchdown right away. It just felt different. It felt like, oh my gosh, these guys came in here to win. Now, Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid being Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid, they had some answers for that, and they almost always do. Every time, though, you watched where it was like, oh my gosh, Kansas City's going to come back here, they're going to get this win, Justin Herbert had an answer for him. Culminating in that fourth quarter, that last drive that he made, when I think it was on third down, he gets sacked for a loss of like 8 yards. You thought, oh, here we go. Here's classic Kansas City Chief game, right? Defense makes a big play. They get the stop. Patrick Mahomes drives the team down to make a final score and win the game. That didn't happen. Justin Herbert took it into his own hands, or maybe his own feet, rattled off, I think it was a 19-yard run, and just boom, they were able to kneel the ball out, and they won the game. It was just amazing. And I know last year he had a really bad playoff performance where I think he had 3 or 4 interceptions. But throughout the season last year, he threw for 65.9%, 3,870 yards, only 23 touchdowns, but only 3 picks. So, then all the critics are, well, he can't win in the big... Well, a lot of guys have thrown a lot of interceptions in those big games. I remember a game, I'm a Packer fan, that Brett Favre went in to St. Louis and threw like 5 interceptions against the greatest show on turf. I mean, it happens. It happens to all the great ones. The playoffs are hard, you guys. They are so hard. It's not like, they're not... You're playing the best of the best when you get to the playoffs. So I'm really excited to see what Justin Herbert can do. He's endured chaos, bad coaching, criticism, but he's got Jim Harbaugh at the helm now, and there are no more excuses for the Chargers, and I think Justin Herbert is finally going to show the NFL exactly what he can do. Now, let's move on to the Steelers versus the Jets that happened yesterday afternoon. And I know what you're thinking, but I think the biggest story of that game was Justin Fields and what he was able to do. I mean, that poor guy, he came into the league, drafted by the Bears, a lot of excitement from Bears Nation, and he just never lived up to it. Now, Chicago never, ever, ever gave him any kind of stability, never gave him any help. It was, hey, Justin, go out and do what you do. Like, I never understand that organization. and what they do, I mean, they've done it 3 times in a row now, right? It started with Trubisky, draft Trubisky, plays a season, fire the head coach, bring in a new head coach, play, oh, he's no good, oh, we suck, okay, well, we're going to draft another guy, draft another quarterback, so then you bring in Justin Fields, oh, fire the head coach, bring in a new head coach, oh, that doesn't work, right? And they're doing the same thing right now to Caleb. So he's just never had any stability in his career. I mean, he went to Pittsburgh last year. Now he did get around a solid organization, an organization that has been good for a really long time. They don't have any losing seasons, although I feel like they're getting okay with just not having losing seasons, but a lot more stability. And he came in, he played the first handful of games last year. I think he had a 4-2 record or something like that, and he was doing well, but he didn't look like he looked yesterday. And what really blew me away about watching Justin Fields yesterday, and I know Aaron Rodgers had a great game, and I'm going to get to that because I am an Aaron Rodgers fan as a Green Bay Packer fan. But when I saw since Justin Fields came in the league, when he starts to take off and run, he's taken off to run. And he did do that a couple times yesterday, but he was also, when he was taking off and scrambling around, he was looking downfield trying to find somewhere to go with the ball, and it was just watching him play. I couldn't help but wonder, are some of the Steeler head coaches or coaching staff sitting over there wondering, did we make a mistake by letting Justin Fields go and signing a 41-year-old Aaron Rodgers for 1 year? I mean, they really had to be thinking that watching him run around and play. And for the first time ever, I really think you could build around Justin Fields. If he's going to play like that all year, the Jets are going to be a lot better of a football team than we think they are. They were, they got some work to do, but I think they got a head coach that believes in these guys, that pumps these guys up, that feeds them positive energy. I just think things are different in that organization. And we saw what happened with the Lions defense last year, completely decimated by injury, and that guy kept them going, right? Like, he had them rocking and rolling, and they were good, and they won 15 games. And I think they probably have themselves, Aaron Glenn, the right head coach. I think they have the right staff around Justin. I really think what I saw yesterday blew me away watching that guy play. Now, I do want to get to what we saw with Aaron Rodgers, 41 years old, didn't look good his last year in Green Bay. Now, as a Packer fan, I'll tell you, the last couple of years he was there, he was pretty disgruntled. I know that last year he was mad about something in the offseason, and Devontae was gone, and they brought in the whole starting wide receiving core was rookies. And he wouldn't come in and work with them. So I think that had something to do with the season. He wasn't in there building a relationship with these young receivers. He wasn't engaged. He wasn't engaged, and it showed. And then of course he goes to the Jets. 3 snaps into the game, he pops his Achilles and he's out for the year. And then last year he came back and he really wasn't terrible. He was actually quite good, but watching him last year was just a little bit painful. It just didn't quite look right. But yesterday, while he didn't look like the Aaron Rodgers of old, where he's moving around and buying time for receivers to get open, he's pretty much a statue there, although he did move around a little bit. But he threw aggressively yesterday. He was throwing guys open. He was making throws that we're used to as Packer fans who have watched him for so long, have seen him do for years and years and years. And that was just outstanding and fun to watch because, yeah, he's Aaron Rodgers and a little weird. And I've even said for a long time, I wish I could remember who tweeted this out. This was a few years ago, and it was, I'm not sure as Packer fans if we like Aaron Rodgers, but we like Aaron Rodgers being our quarterback, and that there's a lot of truth to that. Aaron Rodgers will never be beloved within Packer Nation like Brett Favre was and is, but, man, he was a lot of fun to watch for a long time. And you saw a glimmer yesterday. If they can keep that up, if they can just figure out a way to bolster that offensive line, and if Arthur Smith can build some protections within that offense so that Aaron Rodgers can stay upright and healthy, I don't think they have the kind of team that's going to take them deep into the playoffs, especially watching Justin Fields shred that Steelers defense, that highest paid defense in the NFL, was embarrassing. So that defense, if that's not fixed, and maybe some of it was they just didn't expect Justin Fields to do the things that Justin Fields did, and I totally understand that. So moving on, let's talk about my Green Bay Packers and the amazing performance that happened yesterday at Lambeau Field. Going into that game as a Packer fan, I was like, I just didn't know what we were going to see. The one preseason game where before Love hurt his thumb, he's hitting guys in the hands in that first game and they're dropping the balls, and I was like, good grief, here we go. And then the Micah trade happened, 11 days ago, and it really just sparked some energy in Packer Nation. We were excited. We were just thrilled to have this happen again. And, as a Packer fan, we've seen it. We've seen it before. It doesn't happen very often. Green Bay doesn't take these big swings. And we've seen it before, though. We've seen them go hard after Reggie White early on in Holmgren and Favre and Ron Wolf's career there. We've seen them go in, and nobody wanted Charles Woodson. They brought Charles Woodson in. He really was the catalyst and the glue that led to that Super Bowl 45 victory. And now they bring in Micah Parsons, and I got to tell you, good old Skip Bayless. I think we all love to hate Skip because he just says some crazy shit, but I saw him put out a tweet yesterday that the Green Bay Packer fans are going to be sorry. He's going to become a king, just awful and this and that. And I'm like, listen, in Dallas, Micah Parsons was the defense. I mean, they had a few pieces around him, but he was the defense. The Packers have really put together some really good pieces, and they just needed that one more. Last year, they had a top 10 defense. They had a top 10 defense. They could take the ball away. They just couldn't get to the quarterback. And what we saw yesterday, and I know that Detroit's rebuilding their offensive line, but man, that did not look good. And, Micah played, I think it was 47% of the defensive snaps, and he impacted that game so big. I mean, he got it. Lucas Van Ness was getting to the quarterback. Rashawn Gary was getting to the quarterback. We were just pressuring him all day long. They couldn't. The defense was swarming to the ball. Jahmyr Gibbs had I think his longest play of the day was 6 yards, and that was in the fourth quarter towards the end of the game. I mean, that defense just went all just batshit crazy, went after these guys, and it was an amazing performance, and it was great. Like, I remember, the game just starting, and they showed Micah come running out onto the field, and that stadium lost their mind. That stadium exploded, and I haven't seen anything like that for a long time. And just watching that defense and the way that Jeff Hafley has that defense playing and the way they're swarming to the ball and the way that they just Yep, you're going to make catches, but you're not getting yards after. And it was just so fun to watch. I can't wait for the rest of this season. I just got to be honest about it. And Jordan Love, I don't really understand the hate. I mean, last year he had a rough year. I know he got hurt in week 1, and he just never, after he came back, because Malik Willis played in week 2 and week 3, and then Jordan came back against the Vikings and just didn't look very good, although he did almost lead a comeback to beat the Vikings in that game at Lambeau Field. But I'm telling you, this kid is healthy. He's playing within fundamentals. There's reports that all offseason he was working on his footwork. He got healthy. He looked healthy. He is, Colin Cowherd likes to say he's a little more Brett Favre than he is Aaron Rodgers, and I tend to agree with that. He is going to take some risks with the ball. He's going to let it rip, and he is going to throw some bad interceptions. Listen, a lot of greats have thrown a lot of interceptions. Tom Brady threw a lot of interceptions. Peyton Manning threw interceptions. Pat Mahomes throws interceptions. John Elway threw. And Favre, first ballot Hall of Famer, in my opinion, the greatest quarterback the Green Bay Packers have ever had. Some would argue it's Aaron. I argue it's Brett. Threw a ton of picks. So I'm not too worried about the interceptions that he's going to throw, especially with this defense that we have. And Jordan was on fire yesterday. I mean, he threw some balls. They were darts. They were right on target, hitting guys in stride, and they were bringing the ball in, which I think, in my opinion, last season that was the biggest problem with the Packers offense and Jordan Love is all the drops. And once you saw it, you got through about November, and there was a stat he like 7 or 8 weeks in a row he threw an interception, and then all of a sudden he went like 6 weeks without throwing a pick. So he was getting better, and then he kind of got beat up, got banged up a little bit in that Bears game, and they pulled him out, and history speaks for itself. They went into Philly and they didn't play well, but at the same time, I had a little bit of optimism after that game, and especially after the Super Bowl, because we went into Philly and played the Philadelphia Eagles tighter in Philly than the Chiefs did in the Super Bowl on a neutral field. So going through all that, I had a lot of optimism coming into this year. I wasn't quite sure what it was going to look like, but come week 1, if they're going to play like that all year, they're going to be really hard to beat come January. I think Jordan Love played really well. We had Matthew Golden made a couple of big catches. Jaden Reed made some big catches. Right? Romeo Dobbs. I think it was a really good performance. There was some shaky moments with Love in the second half. I didn't like when LaFleur came out. First drive of the second half went run, a 3 and out, and I thought, oh, here we go again. Here's the Packers going to go conservative mode and blow this game away. But to their credit, they didn't do that. They kept going. Josh Jacobs got going. Tucker Kraft had some big plays. All in all, I was really excited watching my Green Bay Packers. Now, let's talk about the game coming up tonight. I have some thoughts. I know there's so many unknowns in this game. What's J.J. McCarthy going to be as a starting quarterback in the NFL? And, can Ben Johnson fix Caleb Williams? What are we going to see? And here's just my opinion. I think the Minnesota Vikings have the superior roster heading into the game tonight. I also think that Brian Flores is going to do what he likes to do, and he's going to blitz Caleb. And I don't think Caleb handles the blitz very well. I think they're going to wind up turning the ball over a couple times. I think J.J. McCarthy, if he just plays within the system, if he just trusts the guys around him to make plays and doesn't make that big mistake, I think Minnesota will be pretty hard to beat tonight. I know Bears fans, and I have a lot of family that is Bears fans, and I know that they're excited, especially after what Caleb did in that preseason game against Buffalo. But And it was encouraging if you're a Bears fan that, he stood there in the pocket and got the ball out quick and found his open receivers. But then the next week against the Chiefs, he didn't look near as good. They blitzed him a couple times. He looked a little shaky, although he didn't look terrible. But he looked shaky, and I just think Brian Flores loves to blitz. He is going to go after these guys. I think he's going to go after Caleb. And all in all, I just think that the roster in Minnesota is superior to the roster in Chicago. And I think that Caleb has a rough night, and the Vikings get to him a couple times, 2, 3, 4 sacks, put him on the ground, and the Minnesota Vikings win this game pretty convincingly. All right, you guys, I hope you really enjoyed week 1 of the NFL season. I know I sure did. Thank you for checking this page out. Please, if you enjoyed the podcast, hit like, subscribe. I'm on YouTube. We're on Apple Podcasts. We're on Spotify. Go ahead, check it out. Like, subscribe. Have a good night, guys. Enjoyed Monday Night Football.